Have you ever felt that a painful experience changed who you are in ways you can't always explain? The impact of abuse goes beyond emotions. It shapes the brain's functioning, influencing how we interact with the world around us. In this video, we'll explore how abuse affects the brain, from the way it processes emotions to the challenges it creates with memory, learning, and mental health. But we'll also go further. We'll discuss how the brain, even after enduring trauma, possesses an incredible capacity for healing and resilience. If you or someone you know has experienced abuse, remember that your feelings are valid and help is available. Let's embark on this journey of understanding and hope together. How abuse reprograms the brain. Abuse, especially when chronic or occurring during vulnerable periods of life, leaves profound marks on the brain. It literally reprograms how we process emotions, make decisions, and respond to the world around us. One of the most affected areas is the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for detecting threats and triggering fight, flight, or freeze responses. In situations of ongoing abuse, the amygdala becomes permanently hyperactive, as if danger never ends. This can cause individuals to feel constantly anxious, even in safe environments. On the other hand, the prefrontal cortex, which helps regulate emotions and make rational decisions, reduces its activity. This can explain why people who have experienced abuse often struggle to control impulses or handle emotionally challenging situations. Imagine trying to solve a complex problem while your brain constantly sends out warning signals. It's an immense burden to carry daily. These brain changes often manifest in everyday symptoms: difficulty concentrating, persistent feelings of fear, or exaggerated reactions to small stimuli, like an unexpected noise. These are the brain's attempts to protect itself, but they can significantly impair quality of life. Understanding these changes is the first step toward healing. Recognizing that these reactions are natural responses to trauma can help reduce self-blame and pave the way for seeking appropriate help and resources. Memory and learning. Under the impact of trauma. The trauma caused by abuse not only disrupts our emotions, but also directly interferes with our ability to learn and remember. This is primarily because the hippocampus, a crucial brain region for forming memories and facilitating learning, is severely affected by prolonged stress. Under abusive conditions, the brain releases elevated levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. When this occurs repeatedly, the hippocampus can shrink, making it harder to process and store memories in an organized way. This can lead to fragmented memories or mental blocks, where individuals struggle to recall entire events or only remember specific details of traumatic experiences. For example, someone might vividly recall a detail, such as a sound or facial expression during an abusive incident, but be unable to reconstruct the full context. These memory gaps are not personal failings, but a way for the brain to protect itself from emotional overload. These challenges can also surface in practical situations. Imagine someone in a workplace or classroom struggling to focus because their mind keeps revisiting past emotions. This can lead to academic, professional, and social difficulties, creating a cycle of frustration and isolation. In legal contexts, these effects are also significant. Trauma survivors providing testimony often face criticism for inconsistencies in their stories, when in reality, they are grappling with the natural limitations trauma imposes on the hippocampus. Understanding how trauma affects memory is essential for reducing stigma and fostering compassion. While the brain may be impacted, it is also remarkably resilient. With appropriate support, such as therapy and stress management techniques, much of the brain's ability to learn and retain memories can be restored. Emotional numbing and dysregulation. When someone experiences abuse, the brain often develops defense mechanisms to cope with the overwhelming emotional burden. One of the most common responses is emotional numbing, a feeling of disconnection from both positive and negative emotions. It's as if the brain builds a barrier to avoid pain, but in doing so, it also blocks joy, love, and enthusiasm. Imagine living in a situation where, to protect yourself from ongoing trauma, your brain decides to shut off part of your emotional capacity. While this defense mechanism may be helpful in the short term, over time, it can become a significant barrier, impacting relationships and overall quality of life. People experiencing emotional numbing often describe feeling like observers of their own lives, unable to fully engage or participate. Another common effect of abuse is emotional dysregulation. This means emotional reactions can become extreme or entirely absent. For instance, someone might feel intense anger over a seemingly minor event, or, conversely, fail to react to situations that would typically evoke empathy or concern. This emotional roller coaster can make building healthy relationships challenging and create a deep sense of isolation. These changes can be partly explained by how abuse alters the brain's chemical balance. The production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine may be disrupted, affecting the ability to regulate emotions effectively. Understanding these mechanisms is crucial for healing. Recognizing that these symptoms are not personal weaknesses but natural responses to trauma is the first step toward reclaiming emotional connection and finding stability. With therapy, social support, and practices like mindfulness, it's possible to reconnect with emotions and establish a stronger foundation for facing future challenges. Risky behaviors and impulsivity. Abuse impacts not only emotions and memory, but also judgment and impulse control, often leading to risky behaviors. These actions may emerge as a way to temporarily numb emotional pain or as a result of stress-induced changes in the brain. Chronic exposure to abuse disrupts areas like the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for planning, decision-making, and behavior regulation. This impairment can make impulsive decisions more common, ranging from excessive spending and substance use to more dangerous acts like self-harm. While harmful, these behaviors often represent desperate attempts to cope with overwhelming emotional distress. Children and adolescents are particularly vulnerable to these effects. In school-aged children, abuse can manifest as academic struggles, behavioral issues, and social withdrawal. Studies show that young people who experience abuse are more likely to engage in risky behaviors, such as running away from home, entering abusive relationships, or neglecting their health. These actions reflect not only emotional turmoil, but also an impaired ability to anticipate long-term consequences. Research indicates that chronic stress rewires the brain's reward system, making it harder to resist temptations for immediate relief. This explains why substance use or thrill-seeking behaviors can appeal to those who have endured abuse. These actions trigger a temporary dopamine release, offering a fleeting sense of relief. It's essential to recognize that these behaviors do not define a person's worth or identity. Rather, they are survival mechanisms for unbearable pain. With therapy, social support, and strategies for emotional regulation, individuals can break free from these cycles and find healthier ways to process and heal from trauma. Long-term mental health impacts. Abuse leaves profound and lasting scars that can affect mental health throughout a person's life. Anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and even an increased risk of suicide are among the most common consequences. These conditions stem not only from painful experiences, but also from changes in brain function caused by trauma. PTSD is a direct response to abuse. It manifests through flashbacks, hypervigilance, and difficulty relaxing, even in safe situations. For someone with PTSD, memories of the abuse are not just distant recollections, they can be relived with full emotional intensity at any moment. Additionally, abuse can lead to eating disorders and phobias. Relationships with food may be impacted as a way to regain control over something tangible, while phobias can arise in response to triggers associated with the trauma. Difficulty trusting others is also common, complicating relationships and the ability to form healthy bonds. Research shows that abusive experiences permanently alter areas of the brain, such as the hippocampus and amygdala. These changes can amplify stress responses, making it harder to regulate emotions and react in balanced ways. Even years after the abuse, these alterations may influence behavior and emotional reactions. Despite these challenges, it's crucial to remember that the brain is remarkably resilient. Therapies such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, have proven highly effective in helping survivors recover. Additionally, support networks and practices like mindfulness and physical exercise can aid in rebuilding emotional balance. The impact of abuse is real and significant, but it is not a life sentence. With proper support, healing is possible, And emotional scars can transform into sources of strength and resilience. Abuse can leave deep marks on the brain and life, but those marks can be softened and even transformed. In this video, we explored how trauma impacts memory, emotions, behaviors, and mental health. But we also highlighted the incredible ability of the brain to adapt and heal with the right support. If you're dealing with the effects of abuse, know that there are pathways to recovery. Therapy, support networks, and practices like mindfulness can be powerful allies on this journey. You are not alone, and your struggle is valid. Healing is a process, but it is possible. Take a step today, no matter how small, and trust that you are moving closer to a lighter and more balanced life.